Well, welcome parents. Welcome to another episode of Teenager Tuesday. My name is William Beall. I am the student director at our Frisco East campus. And again, we are in week 4, and it's also our final week of we talk about last one as we talk about body image in teens. And I'm here with my friend Savannah. Savannah, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Yes, Savannah is our Frisco West student pastor. She's incredible. She's awesome. Also one of my dear friends. Really appreciate her. But today we are going to be asking this question, like, hey, I think my son is struggling.
Yeah.
What do I do? I think this is, or even saying like, I don't even know my son is struggling. Like, what if I'm listening to this and I don't know, like I've never known about this. I think when people are struggling with anything, they tend to hide and isolate themselves, especially when it comes to teen boys. I think there's this embarrassing tell that like, if you're struggling with anything, that you're not strong, you're not that much of a man, like this idea of weakness is like void.
Yeah.
But every single person has struggled with something. And this in particular in the conversation of body image is a really important one.
Right.
First, I want to mention that, going to the gym or wanting to gain weight or lose weight or wanting to be healthy is not a bad thing. These very well can be really good things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important that maybe we don't necessarily notice the signs at first, or we can think, oh, my son's going to the gym. That's awesome. He wants to play sports. That's so great. Or, he's growing, and so he's losing a little bit of weight, or, he was like he's like a little chubby little kid, and now he's like lengthening out. Like, we can see those things, and there is positivity in that. Like, we want to treat our bodies well.
Right.
But I think sometimes that these things, just like with anything, right? We can take a good thing and it can turn to the worst, like obsession, and just we can take it in can swing the pendulum in the other direction. Everything should be in moderation.
Yes.
Right? Is that the phrase?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I was like trying to think what's the phrase there.
Take everything in moderation.
Right, taking everything in moderation. And that's even including good things like fitness or sports or eating habits. All of those kinds of things. Like, we can acknowledge that when we take these good things and we distort it, like, it can actually then just become super harmful.
For sure.
For not just our body, but like also for our mind. Like, and so we want to specifically dive into like having that conversation with your son or your nephew, your grandson, whoever that is in your life. So William, like, can you just like start us off with like, what are maybe some of the things that we can see teens are facing, especially guys? Like, what's kind of out there? Like, what do we do? How do we know if they're struggling, like you mentioned?
Well, yeah, awesome question. I think there's a few things out there that, and I'm going to speak upon my experience of these are conversations that I've had. I've been in a lot of recovery circles with men, and we've led, I've been a part of Regeneration, which is our recovery and discipleship ministry here at Hope Fellowship. I know myself and you have led in Regeneration for Students, which is for our high schoolers. We've had conversations about stuff like this, and I think there's kind of 3 things that I've noticed that, hey, maybe an indicator that your son may be struggling. One is social media. I think I see this a lot through social media, whether it's TikTok or it's Instagram or it's X, formerly known as Twitter, have curated these ideal bodies to see.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to know what your son is looking at on social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's one first and foremost. Just want to, set that right there is that. But I think guys have this ideal body type that if they're not like this quote unquote like muscle god, like I have heard that term being used.
That's crazy. Muscle god.
Yes. That is like if if you're this big muscular guy, then you are this ideal man. And almost like this red pill, like you take this red pill, like kind of a Matrix, callback.
Really get into it, yeah.
But like there is this conversation of like people are red pilled that they're living this one certain way, and that you have to, and if you're not, then you're not a man,
right?
And if you don't look like this, then you're not a man.
Is that like in the category of like you have to be like alpha? Like I hear alpha male a lot.
Yeah, kinda
from guys. Okay, that if you're not this alpha, then you're not a man, and you have to go to the gym so many times a week.
Right.
and you have to look a certain way.
Wear this to the gym.
Wear this. Yes. Yeah. Eat this protein powder and these egg whites. Like, is that all kind of okay?
Yeah. And it's like, it goes back to kind of like when people are posting on social media talking about like what I eat in a day.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm counting my calories. Like, again, counting calories is not a bad thing. But I think the power of sin and brokenness in our world can distort that to make it be like we're obsessed with it. We have to, if we don't hit our benchmark, then we failed. And if I fail, then I'm nothing. Like, I know that there's people out there that have these kind of thoughts. And I think social media, and I've heard this phrase be thrown out there so much, and it's not just true for guys, it's also true for girls, it's true for everyone, is that comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
And I think social media puts out there this idea that we have to be something. And if I'm not that, then I don't have joy. I can't experience this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one is peer pressure. I think, again, it's okay to know who are friends with your sons. Yeah. I think there's like, you want to, I sometimes I tell my parents, I'm like, hey, do you know my friends? And my mom will be like, yeah, I know, blah, 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 blah. Like, she'll listen to my dad will be like, who? And
my dad should know.
They should know. And my dad does know. I just want to emphasize that. But I think peer pressure between guys is a really important one. I literally have heard, Savannah, conversations between guys about between their friend groups of if like going after their friends because they're too big or they're too small. Right. And, how are they supposed to get a girlfriend if they look like this?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that pressure of those conversations can be harmful and can affect someone's, mental health. Like your the teenage boy in your life that is affecting the way that they think and see and view themselves and how that can affect how remembering who God sees them as.
Yeah. I think that's like a big thing it's a thing for girls, but I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, like in like sports, like that's just a normal thing for guys to just like rag on each other in the gym or whatever, which like can be playful, but I think I often hear it, especially with teenagers, that it just goes way too far too quickly. Yeah. It's like it goes from one extreme of like, whoa, I thought we were just messing around, ragging on each other, to like, oh my gosh, you're like bullying this. Yes. You're like bullying me now, like for looking a certain way or not looking a certain way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it happens. And I think there is that I think boys love to walk the fine line between joking and bullying.
Yes.
And I think sometimes they just cross the line. Right. And you just also got to realize, like, hey, like those conversations could be happening in your son's or the teenage boy in your life. Their friend group.
And I think that happens a lot in like the gym. Yes. Right. Most of the time when guys are working out or whatever. But like I feel like I've heard of gym culture. Yes. A lot. I don't like. What have you heard, or like what from this perspective of a guy? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, I think one, if you know me and you're listening to this podcast, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of the gym. The gym's kind of scary for me. Again, I'm a long distance runner. Like I'll admit it. I don't feel like I look the part of it, but I've definitely have heard about just steroid use or just being a quick fix of, well, if I can take this, then I'll get big quick or I'll gain more muscle quick. But I don't think a lot of people realize like the short term, like having that short term gratification versus the long term impact of that.
Yeah. Even just health wise.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
All the crazy things that happen, or even just like going to the gym for like hours at a time. Like, right. I feel like that's what I hear. They went to the gym for like 2.5 hours a day. I'm like, that's way too long. A lot of
people who are legit trained professional trainers will say, like, and I've just heard this, so you can take this with a grain of salt, but saying like, hey, like 45 to 75 minutes is a good amount of time. Right. Like if you're going 2 hours, like maybe we need to evaluate, or maybe there's something like
I would be exhausted.
I've been to the gym for 2 hours, but that was because I love to talk with the people that I work out with, and we just lose track of time. Yeah. but yeah, I think most of the time, I think the actual workout may be like 50 to 60 minutes.
Right. And it's the fine line of, health-wise, you have certain fitness goals, especially for, teenage boys and the sports that they're in is like, yeah, sometimes that's not in their control because they're at school or those,
sure.
but it can turn into an unhealthy obsession.
1,000%.
Yeah,
1,000%. And I do think that, parents, I think shifting the conversation, how can we then address like these conversations with teenage boys? I think this idea, we've heard the term body positivity, and I think even shifting away from body positivity into this term of body neutrality.
Yeah, what's that? I don't know what that
body
is.
neutrality, it focuses on function over aesthetics. So it's training us to see our bodies as vessels for living rather than a canvas to display in hopes of meeting societal ideas about what a guy should look like. And it's this idea of like, here's some quotes of like, okay, my body is taking care of me. My lungs are helping me breathe. My muscles are helping me move, and my stomach is helping me get the nutrients that I need. It's even just a reminder of, God, you've given me this ability.
Yeah.
And I'm going to thank you for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to worship you.
Yeah.
And going back to like Romans 12, just my body being a living sacrifice.
Yeah.
I'm saying, God, thank you so much. And helping that renew and change my mind.
Yeah. That's so good.
It's acknowledging and appreciating what our bodies can do that may not help us love them every day, but it could help us move away from disparaging them, which is a great place to start.
Yeah, I think that's so good of just the focusing on function, right? Because I think, I don't necessarily think it's guys don't necessarily, again, I'm like, I don't really know, but like, just like, I love my body, it looks so great or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's more important to focus on the function of like, man, like my body can do, like it can lift these weights, it can run however many miles that it needs to. And so like, being able
pointing back to God.
Yeah, thanking God for all of these things that he has given us as a way of, like I think we talked about this last week, of being an image bearer of Christ. And so I think a really good question, just to even start the conversation, we've talked about this, access to so many great resources that I would just highly encourage parents for you to check out. But I think a question just to even start this conversation, if you're like, I think my son is struggling and I just want to kind of know where he's at, or what is he thinking? What are the things that he's facing? A good question would be like, do you think social media or sports, does it make it harder for guys to feel good about their bodies? I think that's a good one to just what's kind of the messaging they're receiving? Yeah, I think that would be a great question to start with. I love it. Well, William, thank you so much for talking with us. This has been part 4. Go back and listen to all the episodes because I think this is just an important conversation for parents to have with their teenagers. It's hard being a teenager. There are so many changes and shifts and hormonal things and puberty and all those kinds of things. But, we're here for you. We love you, parents. You're doing a great job. If nobody's told you lately. So just signing off for this series and this episode. Remember, parents, you can do this. You are not alone. God is with you, and so are we.